And you guys are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Village Board meeting. Today is October 15th, 2021. If we could all stand for the pledge, and Kenny Cullen will lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kenny. All right, so first we'll do a roll call, which I always forget to do. June?
Mayor Jerry Larson,
Present?
Deputy Mayor Chris Minardi.
I'm here, present.
See you. Trustee Arthur Graham,
Present.
Trustee Rose Brown,
Present.
Trustee Sandra Melendez.
Present.
Thank you. Administrator
thanks.
Marco Balladron,
Present.
Village Attorney Vincent Messina.
Present.
Thank you. Deputy Superintendent of Public Works Mike Bowker. Well, I know he's there. He's just not on. Fire Chief Jerry Terza.
Not present. Excused.
Ken Cullum,
Present.
Tom Priato.
Present.
Billy Hayjack,
I'm here.
Michael Tracy.
Present.
And
All right,
thank
thanks,
you.
everyone. Right, June?
Yes.
All right, so I just have a couple of quick announcements. The first, I would like to just say that Barbara Layton, who owns Babette's, who's been in business there for 27 years, is closing her doors on Sunday. So she's been a great friend of the village. She's been a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, and she's going to be very much missed from our community. So I just wanted to thank her and tell everybody to get out to Babette's before Sunday so you can say goodbye and have one last meal. The next thing I have up is just a reminder, we're going to have our first Veterans Day Parade in East Hampton on November 13th, 2021. It's being organized by Fire Chief Jerry Terza. And that will start at 11 a.m. on that Saturday, the 13th. Now we'll jump into presentations, and first up is Hugh King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of corrections. I mentioned that Oddfellows Hall might have been the place where the incorporation vote happened in 1920. That's not true. The incorporation vote took place at Clinton Hall or Clinton Academy. However, the first village election took place at Village Hall. And in 1927, when the village decided to purchase Home Sweet Home, the election took place at Oddfellows Hall. It was a polling place for many years. And even in the 50s, it was used as a schoolhouse when the present middle school, which was the entire high school and grade school, got too crowded. They sent some students down to Oddfellows Hall, okay? The other correction is that Jeremiah Baker was not the first mayor of the village. Jonathan Baker was the first mayor or president of the village. Jeremiah Baker was from Amagansett, and he drove a stage from Amagansett to Sag Harbor and back for almost 50 years, picking up the mail, okay? All right, now I have my 100th anniversary hat on because we're not done celebrating the 100th anniversary. So now we're going to play Stump the Board. I'm going to give you 5 questions today. Anybody can answer them. You only get one answer. First question, what's the oldest business on Newtown Lane?
Whittendale's.
Correct.
Pardon me?
Whittendale's, Rose said.
No.
Sam's.
Sam's Restaurant. Oh, wait a minute.
I don't know.
Excuse me. There was a nursery there even before Vitals. That's correct, Trustee Brown. And then Sam's is next at 1947. Okay, boy, that was close. Okay. What's the oldest retail business on Main Street?
White's Pharmacy.
White's Pharmacy. Okay. What was said to be East Hampton's original name?
Maidstone.
Maidstone.
Let's go, okay? Who had a barber shop on Newtown Lane?
Augie Dragata,
Augie Dragata, that's
my
right.
grandfather.
And where was the telephone exchange on Main Street in the 1950s?
Number one.
Number one, right, and Bohax was down below. All right, you got 100% this week. Next month, they'll get harder. All right? Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, you. Thanks
Okay.
very much. Next up, we have Chief Tracy.
Morning. I would like to just review and speak about Evan Ball, one of our police officers who is to be promoted to the rank of sergeant. This is a well-deserved promotion, and Evan has been with us since August of 2008. He is, again, a local young man, very bright, very well educated, and he's liked in the community, known in the community, liked within the department. He's got great leadership traits. He's very calm. He's also got excellent training within the department. He is a trained certified criminal investigator. We sent him to investigators school back in 2011. He's also an outstanding member of our emergency services unit within the department, our shared emergency service unit. And I'm very proud of him and the way he's conducted himself over the years. And he's going to make an excellent addition to our administrative staff. And I think he'll serve the community well, and as well as his subordinate officers. So I'd like to congratulate him today, Evan Ball.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific pick. He's a really outstanding officer, and really happy this is happening for him. Is he on today or not? I don't see him.
I'm just looking right now. I don't see him on the list right now. I thought he was going to jump on, but
Mayor, is it possible maybe for us to recognize this achievement, this promotion, which he is an outstanding police officer, at the next time that we are in person, perhaps, which is hopefully sooner than later, at one of our meetings?
Yes, that's exactly what I told Evan when I spoke to him, that we would do that. So it was a great idea. Tiger had that idea when we first went back to live, and that was really, that worked out really well. So I agree, we should do that. That's very nice for the families and for everybody. So
Yeah,
we will definitely do
congratulations,
that.
Evan.
Great, congratulations. So our next guest is Mary Bromley, who is a local mental health professional, a psychotherapist, has had a lot of experience in police, has a lot of police background. But before I ask her to speak, I wanted to tell you why I asked her to come on. And so I'll start that first, and then I'll ask Mary to speak about it as well. So when I was elected, as you know, my history, I was the police chief, and I was with the police department for over 34 years. And something that's always been important to me that we haven't really been able to address is mental health. So if you think about a police officer's career, a police officer usually starts when he's around 20 to 21 years old, such as I did. And you run at least a 20-year career. In my case, we went 34 years, and most village officers go longer than the 20 years. But using 20 years as a standard, think about all of the things that you go through in life from the age of 21 to 41. It's just incredible. Most people will become married. Most people will have children. Most people's parents will pass away while they're in their career. Other terrible things could happen during your course of your life. And then you add police department services, dispatchers, people who see terrible and hear terrible things, experience suicides, experience murders, experience horrible car accidents. And there's never an opportunity for that person, unless they go on their own, to receive any type of counseling. Sure, we have traumatic incidents, and then we will suggest, or we bring out counselors to police officers, but it's not always, people don't always take advantage of those situations because they're, for whatever reason, they're the tough guy, that it looks bad to go to that, whatever the reasons may be that people have. So what I wanted to do for a long time, and I was able to do with our dispatch contract, and I'm really happy to say that I was able to get our PBA to agree to this too and put it into their contract. It will require police officers to go to someone every 3 years to be evaluated or to have an opportunity to talk, to maybe relieve some of that stress. And it's a non-stigma requirement. There's no stigma attached to this requirement because it's going to be mandated. It is mandated now, and it's going to be an automatic thing that everyone has to go through. Like there's no stigma attached to going to CPR training. There's no stigma attached to going to firearms training. Everyone expects it. Everyone has to go. So there's no stigma. If the police chief thinks someone's having an issue and they send that, he decides to send that someone to a mental health professional, the word spreads through the department and it could carry stigma with it. And that's what we're trying to alleviate. We're trying to provide someone with the opportunity to speak to someone without having any stigma attached or feeling bad about it. So this is going to be a mandated training, if you will, that everyone's going to have to attend. So I think it really goes a long way. I think this should really be the standard throughout the country. It should be a law that mandates this. But here in East Hampton, we're starting it on a very small basis, and hopefully it will catch on. So I asked Mary to come on. I filled her in about this, and I wanted to get her opinion on it. And I wanted her to share her opinion with the rest of the board. Thanks, Mary.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're on. We can hear you.
Thank you, Jerry. I've thought a lot about this. And honestly, I wrote something out very early this morning to read to you, and it comes from my heart. Thank you for this opportunity. I have been working as a psychotherapist for almost 40 years in both New York City and in East Hampton. In New York City, I worked with the Special Victims Unit at St. Vincent's Hospital, treating the most brutal sex crimes imaginable in collaboration with the NYPD. We worked as a team to provide investigation, psychotherapy, and legal assistance. We brought many bad guys to justice. Upon moving to East Hampton, Chief Tommy Scott hired me in the mid-'80s to provide therapy to abused children, domestic violence victims, and people in desperate situations who were vulnerable to depression and suicide. I also occasionally responded to the scene with police as there were people I could help in crisis. It was out of this generosity of Chief Scott and the town board that the retreat was founded, the only domestic violence shelter on Long Island offering shelter and free counseling. I tell you this because working alongside police has been among some of the very best moments of my life. I have observed the very best young men and women display courage, compassion, and humor. I was able to see a world that most civilians never get to see. And I am a much better person and psychotherapist for this experience. I also observed major stress, depression, anxiety, marital issues, frustration with the job, the bosses, and one another. The camaraderie was very strong, and as was the humor. But underneath, I worried at times for the personal toll on the officers I worked with. There's no doubt that police are on the front line of the worst moments of our lives. violent domestic situations, death, suicide, absolute carnage with car accidents, often with people that they grew up with, horrific confrontations with angry, intoxicated people, moment-to-moment confrontation with sex offenders and domestic abusers. Police are at the scene as mothers and small children die, as even in one circumstance, an officer's own wife died at the scene in a horrendous accident. When I went to see him afterwards, it was as a colleague, not as a therapist. But as I look back, these officers deserved an opportunity to vent, cry, get angry in a confidential, safe setting, rather than in a bar where I often ended up giving my strong support. We know that police suicide is way up. More officers die of suicide than shootings and traffic accidents combined. Police morale is down as they face questions about public appreciation and respect. Often they turn inward and become isolated from their families and one another. Learning how to express emotion, anxiety, depression, anger in the appropriate setting should be taught from the academy onwards. I see psychotherapy as a normal conversation where I ask about marriage, kids, anxiety, depression, relationships, resentments, and stress. When given the opportunity, police are very open and appreciate my support. They particularly appreciate my confidentiality. No information is ever given to bosses. I listen deeply and offer professional opinion and practical advice. Most importantly, I offer my knowledge of their extremely hard work, lack of sleep, the frustration with bosses, the atmosphere of mistrust about getting help for the normal problems of life. This is not mental illness. We need to help our police before the intense problems of life situations in law enforcement turns to family disruption and suicide, as it tragically often does. This is not about mental illness. We are mind, body, and spirit, and we have ignored the whole person as we attend to the needs of the police. I admire Jerry Larson's innovative idea to have officers talk to a licensed therapist as a normal part of what I think should be a yearly exam. Offering complete confidentiality is crucial, and I am honored to be part of this conversation today. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and this has been something that's been very important to me for a long time. And I have to say, if we can help one officer or one family or one child, or this will all trickle down to also helping the public. Because if an officer is happier in his life, that will be demonstrated in the public eye as well. So I think this is really important. And I have to say, I really want to thank the PBA for having the courage to do this and put this into their contract. And I think it's only going to get better. And I think it's eventually, maybe you're right, Mary, it'll become a yearly thing. But I think this was a slow way to start. and a real positive way to start. And I'm very excited about it. And I really think, we talk about police reform. I think this is really a major step towards police reform that should be done nationwide. So thank you again. I really appreciate your support with this and your help.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Mayor, I had one question.
Yeah,
I know that in the text of the document we got, it says that the officers will meet with a therapist designated by the village. Shouldn't they be able to choose their own therapists? I mean, sometimes that's a very personal decision. And,
Yeah.
Again, nothing against Mrs. Bromley, who I'm sure is, obviously very experienced and very competent at this. But if somebody has a therapist of their own already, wouldn't that be just as good? And
Well-
I'll leave that up to the experts.
Yeah, well, we talked about this with the PBA, and they thought this was the best way to go at this point. And moving forward, maybe that is something we can change in the wording. Right now, people have the option of using their own personal therapist through their insurance. So this was to make it almost, when you go to firearms training, you don't have the option of going to a different firearms instructor. You all go to the same place. And again, it was really to relieve the stigma of the entire situation. Again, it can be modified as we move forward, but I really think, this was the conversation with the PBA, and I think it was a good starting point, but point well taken.
and also, sorry, to make it a normal part of a examination, so that officers who never thought of talking to a therapist have the experience of it being normalized. And then they may, from that conversation, find a therapist, or seek their own person to talk to, which is fine. But it's
I think this is a very good idea. When the mayor first brought it up, I said at that time, I thought it was a good idea. I know that 50 years ago, I saw an automobile wreck that is still with me to this day, and I was just passing by.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I'm sure that, the cops get this way more than they want. And I'm sure a lot of this stays with them. And I think this counseling effort is a really good idea. But I just raised that one thing about, somebody else. So
I appreciate the comments, Tiger. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, next up is Drew Smith, who is our beach chief lifeguard.
Morning, everyone. My name's Drew Smith. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm the chief lifeguard down at the Village Beaches this year. I put together a little presentation to kind of recap everything that happened down at the beach through the 2021 season. I'm going to share the screen right now. All photos throughout this were taken by Assistant Beach Manager Lee Bertrand. So we brought a whole new meaning to the word family down at the beach. We grew a lot closer through different events. The photograph you're looking at right now, we lined up with flags for the Wreath Lane for Memorial Day at the start of the summer. And we do a 4th of July run through town every year. It's a good way to kind of build camaraderie among all the staff members, as well as let members of the community see us and see the size of our staffing. This year with the 4th of July run, it brought future lifeguards. Our cadet, JP Amending, was part of the run. It brought past lifeguards. Armand, who now is actually an East Hampton Village police officer, did the run with us, as well as JP's father, James Amending. So it's a good way to kind of keep the family, the community vibe of having everybody past and present come back for events such as this. We did in June, we hosted a multi-agency drill, which was held at our 2 Mile Hollow Beach after the hours the lifeguards ended. It was held at 5:30. During this training, there were 3 evolutions. Each evolution had 4 swimmers in distress. The invite list consisted of village lifeguards, town lifeguards, village PD drone unit, East Hampton Village Dispatch, village ambulance, East Hampton Town Police, East Hampton Town Marine Patrol, East Hampton Village Fire Department, and East Hampton Village Ocean Rescue. The training played an enormous role. We had an actual 911 call for a missing swimmer later in the summer. Village lifeguards, as well as village PD drone unit, village PD, East Hampton Town Marine Patrol, and the Coast Guard were activated. We were able to work seamlessly to get our jet ski in the water, and PD was able to put their drone right over the swimmer. As we trained, the jet ski went right to the drone. With our comm unit, we were able to relay information from the swimmer in the water back to the beach and get that person back to the beach safely. Another time that our multi-agency training came in handy was during the hurricane this summer. We had village lifeguards posted at the head of every beach as part of our EOC planning, which we did with East Hampton Village Police. And we were able to kind of keep people off the beach during that dangerous weather conditions. And we were able to keep people away from the water and out of danger's way. This is a photo of our new rescue equipment. This rescue equipment was trained on by all of our certified operators. The new jet ski has a max speed of 78 miles an hour and is very responsive while operating it. It was good to train on, and it most recently came in handy after the town beaches were closed for the season. The village beaches remained open for weekends a month longer. An ocean rescue call came in for a swimmer in distress approximately 300 yards offshore at Atlantic Avenue. Our jet ski was able to be launched and on scene in approximately 6 to 7 minutes. They again were able to bring that swimmer back to shore and assist ocean rescue. A lot of that prompt, quick response was due to the training and the ability of this piece of machinery. One of the most prideful moments this summer was we hosted the largest lifeguard tournament to date. We had approximately 260 competitors from all over Long Island that came for our 33rd annual lifeguard tournament. East Hampton Village lifeguards took first place in 2 events, the 4x100, as well as the individual event, which is the largest of the night, which was beach flags. The 4x100 team was Morgan Sigelkin, Cole Shaw, Will and Alex Schlegel, and the individual event of beach flags was won by Will Schlegel. This was the flag pit this year. It was the first time that we used bleachers, which gave an arena-like feel to the pit. The ability to set this up and get the lights and get the bleachers in place was a combination of East Hampton Village Police, East Hampton Village Lifeguards, and the tremendous help from DPW to give us a hand moving everything around. Every department working together gave us this ability to set up this for the first time that we've ever had at our tournament. This was the 4x100 team. From left to right, you have Will, Morgan, myself, Cole, and Alex. This team took first among, I believe, 20 teams competing. And then the largest event of the night is the beach flags. Will Schlegel on the left in the village yellow and red colors was able to make his way to the final round, where he did win gold and bring the gold medal in the largest event of the tournament back to the village of East Hampton. Tuesday nights, the music at Main Beach. Tuesday brought a new life to Main Beach with an array of various artists who came down and played music every Tuesday after hours as the sun went down. The bands performed from the pavilion to the beachgoers, giving an amphitheater type environment to the public free of charge. It brought a new sense of community and entertainment to our beach. This was safely protected by lifeguards. There was police on scene. There was a lot of positive feedback. All week long, we'd have people coming up asking about, hey, what's happening next Tuesday? Who's playing next Tuesday? This was a tremendous way to get people down to the beach in a different capacity than your regular 9 to 5 beach day. I'm going to touch on the last part, rip currents and safety. This photo is a rip current taken right off the stand at Main Beach. Lee took this photo with his drone. This stand or this slide right here from east is on your left, west is on your right. The main beach pavilions at the bottom. This is our stand placement for this summer. Stand 1 is to the right on the west side. Stand 2 is directly off the center of the pavilion, and stand 3 is to the east of the pavilion. Stand 3 is outlined in red, as that is a part-time stand that is only open Saturday and Sundays from 12 to 5 after juniors. As you can see the numbers above each stand, they represent the rescues or the time that somebody entered the water to make a save. Stand 3, I think if we're able to open it full-time, will allow the workload to shift a little more equally. Because I'd like to make note with 69 saves, stand 2 closed the second week of August. So all those saves were from Memorial Day to the second week of August. And then this is my end of the summer stats. Georgia had 16 saves in total with 3 injuries. At Main Beach, we had 68 saves at stand 1 with 7 injuries. Stand 2, 69 saves with 5 injuries. Stand 3, 18 saves, 0 injuries. And 2 Mile Hollow had 10 saves with 2 injuries. That makes a total of 181 times a village lifeguard entered the water to either assist or fully save somebody from our beaches. That allowed family members, members of the public, people out for the day, people that live here year round, allowed everybody to go home safe at the end of the day. I think that's a phenomenal statistic, as this is the most saves we posted at the village in a very long time. And that's all.
All right, great. Drew, I have to say, I spent a lot of time at the beach in the mornings and at the night. And you guys just did a phenomenal job this summer. It was really, really impressive. There's so many people that we could thank for this. You know, there's yourself, Jamie Tulp, Diane, of course, I forgot her last name already.
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell, thanks, Chris. And Jeff Erickson, Lieutenant Jeff Erickson from the PD was instrumental in helping with the getting the flag area set up with the lights and the bleachers. And of course, Dave Collins was a huge help getting all that set up. So there's just a lot of people to thank. The Tuesday night event was incredible. You know, we had sponsors for that, and we had Susan Seacamp, who stayed open late, did a terrific job up at the beach with our new concession that she runs. And it was just an overall terrific summer. And I really have to thank Deputy Mayor Minardi, because this has been his vision since I've known him, and it's really all coming together. So Chris, just great job. Great job.
Well, thanks, Jerry. If I could just get a couple words in here. As many of you know, as I have been a lifeguard for a long time and former village lifeguard and current certified lifeguard to this day, I have never seen the beach run as well as it has been this past summer. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Jamie and Diane and Lee and Drew and everyone up there did an amazing job this summer. And it was so rewarding to have the bathrooms open late in the season. I mean, people are so happy about that. I really am proud that we were able to do that. So I do thank the board for allowing me to do that. Also, the expanded lifeguard hours. This is the first time ever that we had lifeguards on duty until Columbus Day on weekends. And to Drew's point, we made a save at, it was Atlantic Avenue or Indian Wells. It was in Amagansett. With our jet ski was the first, our jet ski picked up the victim. And again, I mean, the town has a wonderful lifeguard program and Ocean Rescue does a great job, but they weren't working at the time. The town shuts down their lifeguards. Again, no disrespect to the town. They just weren't open. And our guards were able to get there and make this save. And I'm very proud of that because, we save one life. It's worth it. And Drew, what a great job. I'm very impressed with the way you dispatch the jet skis all summer. That's a very hard vehicle to master. And you guys stepped up and did an amazing job with that ski. And at the end of the season, you guys really stepped up and made sure the beach was open. I know you're in the process of winterizing it now. Again, I can't say enough about the events that happened up there. People have to realize that we had lifeguards on duty for all the concerts, and the ocean was packed. I know many of you were there, but we had 50 to 100 kids in the water at 8 o'clock at night. And again, everyone got out of the water, and it was well attended and very well covered. So Drew, what a great job. I could go on and on about the help. DPW, they did a great job with raking the beach and building the mounds that I was so insistent on that they do. And the police with the lifeguard tournament and everything. Again, I don't want to, there's so many people to name, but I know Jeff Erickson, he did a lot with securing the bleachers and the lights. So I'd have to at least say thank you to him. But I could go on for a long time, but Drew, fantastic job. I was so happy you're here, and I'm very proud of you. And we've got a lot more work to do, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Terrific. So another thing I just wanted to touch on was the drone. The police department has a drone, and I know Chris donated a drone to Lee for all those terrific photographs. But the police department drone is and I don't know if the beach drone has this or not, but the police department drone is incredible because you can launch it, and it has you can actually talk to the swimmer in the water. So if somebody, for example, that one that was 300 yards out, I believe you said, the drone can hover and give the person commands. If you're in distress, raise your right hand, and then it can't two-way talk, but they could certainly see if the person responds to what they're saying, their commands. So it's another great asset because, for years we relied on the Suffolk County Police Department helicopter, which takes, 40 minutes or so, or 30 minutes to get on scene sometimes if they're not busy. And if you're looking for the Coast Guard helicopter, it's even longer. So this really gives us another avenue to do rescues in a timely manner. You only have a few minutes. So great job by everybody, Drew. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. Please thank them for me. But we're looking forward to continuing this trend. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Let's see. Now we're going to move into public hearings. So June, if you could read the first one.
Sure. Introductory number 24-2021, proposed amendment to Code Chapter 278-3, zoning area setbacks and height regulations regarding cellars. Legislative intent. The Board of Trustees of the Village of East Hampton has received numerous requests from the public with respect to the dimensional limitations currently in effect with respect to the size of cellars of single-family residences. The board finds and determines that the present limitations on cellars may be relaxed if appropriate limitations are in place, which would mitigate any potential adverse impacts, and that the code should be amended to reflect the same.
Great. Jody, do we have any callers on this?
Yes, we have a few callers on the line. Let me patch the first one through. So caller ending with 6643, you are on the line.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, you're on the air.
There we go. All right.
You'll have to lower your TV.
Do I have to turn anything off?
Yes, your TV.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Maureen Bluedorn.
Hi,
and I live in the village of East Hampton. And first of all, I have to say, I do want to say, we've seen, since the change in government, we've seen a lot of very, very nice enhancements to the community. And I do applaud the village board in moving ahead with a number of those. I am calling, though, mostly out of my concern for what the density of population is going to do to our village. And I have been most concerned recently about the speed in which we're enacting zoning changes. I moved here from New York City 15, 16 years ago when I retired because of its beautiful historic nature and the community of people here that cared about the quality of life issues. It was a time then even when development pressures began to increase, and I believe then, as they do now, preservation is critical. I've been on the East Hampton board, I'm part of the LVIS, I've been on the East Hampton Historical Society, I've been on the Guildhall board, and I was a trustee of the Thomas Moran Trust. So I've been very involved in the community and trying to keep it in its original nature, but still progress to help businesses. And to keep it the village that we know and love. And I see it as all of our responsibilities to help prevent any unchecked development or the suburbanization of this village. I'm recently becoming confused as to whether, with all these zoning changes that appear to be being pushed through very quickly, and I would refer to the last board meeting, that whether or not this is the board's vision or whether it really is the residents of the town of Village. And I think it should be the residents' vision. We are moving ahead quickly with approving zoning changes which will expand the density of the population in the village. We're looking to, I believe part of your new agenda is to attract business development, even against the objections of some neighborhood residents, and I'm going to point to the brewery there because that has been brought to my attention, and to the business development of the north end of the village. We do not currently have the parking spaces to accommodate that kind of increase, and I'm not sure where we're going to get them or if we have sufficiently addressed that issue. We don't seem to be addressing the septic problems. I know a foundation has been set up, which I have some questions about whether or not the government can set up a public foundation that is going to award utility contracts or fund utility contracts under the direction of the village, and that's I don't know if that's an issue, a legal issue or not, but I do have some questions about conflict of interest. We do not seem to be having climate control at the top of our agenda. My life has been terribly disrupted by the air traffic that, and Peter and most of the town council people have heard from me directly over this past year, because it's becoming, either it changes or it's time for me to leave East Hampton. And
Maureen,
in addition to that,
Maureen, can I just interrupt a second? This is really comment based on the current public hearing we're in right now about expanding the sellers of homes. Not to,
okay, well,
I'm not trying to be rude, but I just want to.
All right, all of what can you hear me?
Yes.
All of what I have said as an overview, though, is addressing any additional expansion of sellers as offices and the footage associated with that, because it does address density of population issues and parking. And I don't know how we can continue to go ahead with these changes without sufficient input from village residents, and also with reference back to the master plan that was developed several years ago. So, you know, it's just a way of saying, I mean, this is just one incident, so you can apply it to sellers if you wish to apply it to just sellers, but it's the same issue, and it's going to come up across the board. And, you know, I respectfully bring up these comments because of the grumbling that I am hearing in the village, which I think you will begin to hear more of. And you know, again, it's nothing, again, I mean, I do think the village has improved a great deal. I'm afraid that we're going to be slowly but surely overwhelmed with these changes, and I'm not sure what we can do to address it. So I just wanted to express my concern as a village resident and, you know, ask that we be heard, possibly that you do a survey, which I'm not sure it's been done, of the residents to find out what their priorities are and what their concerns are. And, you know, I thank you for listening to me. And it does specifically address the seller as well as the other issues.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you calling in.
Thanks.
Jody, any other callers?
Yes, we have two other callers. Caller ending with 3896. I'm going to unmute you. And just remember, we're trying to keep a 2-minute time limit on all calls. So caller 3896, you're on the air.
Thank you. My name's Andrew Goldstein. I have a question about the law as proposed. The version I read said that the 25% increase in seller would be counted against the coverage on the property. Is that still in the law?
Vinny? Or Lisa?
It is indeed.
So I think that it's I'm not sure why it's in there, but it certainly doesn't. It's not coverage as the term is defined in the code, and I think that it's almost punitive. That's especially on the small lots, where I mean, I'm not sure what the rationale was.
Okay, your point's taken. Thank you.
Well, and just on the I actually favor the purpose of the law, and I think that in terms of there are people who are concerned about density. I think that it's a misplaced concern. The comprehensive plan, frankly, doesn't say anything about density. And if one were to go west of the highway to Georgica Road and Lily Pond Lane, you would not see any evidence of it, any density issues. And I suspect that the density that we're talking about is the traffic that is caused by us being from here to being between having a public highway, a state highway going through our north of the town. I guess I'd ask that when you consider if you would take it, unless there's a real reason why coverage is being charged against this 25%, that that'd be deleted from the statute, frankly. So thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andy. Jody, anyone else?
Yes, we have one more caller on the line. Caller ending with 3462. You're on the air.
Yes, I would like to basically public comment at the end of these resolutions.
Okay, thanks. All right, so just keep him on the line, Jody, for the end.
Okay.
All right, great. Is there anyone else in reference to this?
That's all the callers we have on the line right now.
Board members, anyone?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about this legislation. In paragraph A, it reads, no part of the seller shall extend further than 25% beyond the exterior wall of the first story of the building. 25% of what? I know it's supposed to mean 25% of the gross floor area of the first floor, but this is code. Shouldn't we say that?
That's not what it's intended to mean. And what that was intended to do was to, remember, there's two controls in it, essentially, if you read the entirety of it. So there's the setbacks from lot lines and how far can you go beyond, the existing structure. So if you want a clarification on the 25%, it's meant, again, if it's width, you can't go 25% more than the width. We can clean that up in time for the public hearing, Trustee Graham. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I just think it's not totally clear
Fair
exactly
point.
what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So if you would clean that up,
Understood.
I would appreciate that.
Sure, I'll circulate that to the board next week.
Okay. Secondly, in section B, it goes from 12 feet to 15 feet. Why is that? Who is asking to go down 15 feet?
Like maybe Tiger, maybe I might be able to answer this, is that some people do have a 15-foot basement. And if it were as an addition to the basement, you'd want it to all be the same level, possibly. I know
Okay, why
my
don't we
basement's
just-
15 feet.
Yeah, in addition, Trustee Minority, the feeling was you didn't want to have like 4 stories below, not that you could in most areas, but you didn't want to encourage development 4 stories below the structure, which would lead to something that could theoretically host 4 times the people, for example, and then exacerbate 4 times the parking, et cetera, et cetera. So again, that was an intent to mitigate potential adverse impacts.
Well, couldn't we just make it even easier and say no deeper than the current basement? Just have the depth of the current basement be the,
Except if there's new construction, that wouldn't help us, right?
if there's an obstruction, you would be less.
No, new construction.
New
Right.
construction, if
Correct.
people have 15-foot basements already, are they permitted in the code?
No, only 12, I believe.
Yeah,
The point is, if I'm knocking down something and I'm building something new, I have the opportunity now to put in a new cellar. How deep can I go? Currently, you can't go deeper than 12. Under this proposal, you could go to 15.
And where is that coming from? Has somebody asked for that?
That came from discussions between Bill, Tom, and myself. We were trying to come up with something reasonable that would work and provide enough flexibility to do any number of things.
Okay. And then in section C, it says there shall be at least one common entrance on the ground floor through which every room of the utility shall be readily accessible by passage through the interior of a single-family residence. The setback of any part of a cellar shall be the same as the principal structure. I think this is trying to make sure we have fire egress from whatever basement extension is put in.
Sure, the first part of that is existing code, though. It's only the last sentence that's new, what's in bold.
Right,
Okay,
so we're not talking about the actual ground floor, we're talking about the basement floor as well.
Again, that's existing code in letter C, subdivision C, except for the very last sentence, which talks about the setback. And again, the purpose behind the setback was so that you would not potentially have any adverse impacts that are any worse than if it were on a main floor. So it's a limit on development, number one, and number two, it's a limit on adverse impacts that currently exist. So it has a rational basis.
Okay, but we're talking in the first section of C, we're talking about fire egress.
That's already in the code. That's existing code language.
Right.
So
and
we're not adding to that.
But you want fire egress from a basement level, a basement
need-
addition as well, yes?
You need that pursuant to state code, and Tom can speak to that better than I can. But you need 2 means of egress always when you have something that's subterranean.
All right, so there would have to be a walkout.
Yeah, Tom, you want to address that? That's correct in as my understanding, but if
really
there's
is.
something I'm missing. Hello, Tom?
Hey, I think I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
heard someone else speaking as well. But I think the first portion of C there is just it was already there that all portions of the house connect, that you're not going to have a separate portion of the house just that could be utilized not in conjunction with the main home. I think that's really what it is. I mean, that's really, that also kind of comes through, it mimics the state code as well. Yeah, obviously there'll need to be, well, the state codes need to be met as far as egress, et cetera. There may be instances whereby you put a small room down there, and if it's going to be a sleeping room, they would have to pop up a little areaway to have a second egress. You know, it might not, you know, work out exactly, you know, as far as what someone might want it to look like. They might not, you know, they want the smooth yard or whatever, but there could be the possibility that an egress, an areaway would need to be added.
So that could be, Tom, a 4-foot square hole in the middle of the lawn.
It could.
Okay, and obviously that would have to have railings around it because you can't have a
correct
hole
guardrails
without
would need to be on. Yeah, guardrails would need to be on.
All right, and I know in the next section we're talking about that means that area does not need to be within, that can be within the setbacks.
That can meet the accessory. Well, no, we already have in our code the ability to have a small 4x4 not meet the setbacks.
The permitted exception, right, Tom?
Yes.
Basically, this law, just so everybody's aware, this was in 2015, the village board at that time put a prohibition on basements expanding past the first floor footprint. This is basically just a rollback of that with some restrictions.
Yeah, I was a neighbor of mine and a friend had permits to expand underneath his front porch. And this was pushed through by the old board before I was on the board. And not only was he not allowed to construct it, even though he had a permit for it, since he didn't have a shovel in the ground, he was not able to proceed. And he was not refunded the building permit fee for it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I was not in favor of that when it happened. But I think, again, I know that Andy doesn't think this applies to density, but it could if we're adding bedrooms underground. And it could create a less attractive walkout situation.
Anyone else?
One thing I'd like to add is that from my experience, the people that I've been talking to are excited about this rollback because they might be able to put their pool equipment subterranean, which would make it quieter for the neighbors and also give them the space on their lawn, which they might not need to ask for variance or other reasons why they have to place this equipment above ground. So I do think that it is a unintended consequence that's going to help the village, where we're allowing people to put pool equipment in a place which they would be able to recapture some coverage. And I think it's going to be very helpful.
And Trustee Minardi, if I recall correctly, there'd just been a few applications just like that for subterranean pool equipment storage. So you're right on the mark on that.
I think it's great.
In relation to this piece of code, that subterranean pool would have to be next to the house. The enclosure for subterranean pool equipment.
Well, it would have to fit whatever the code says it fits. Like, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's
it
got
would have to be
comply.
next to the foundation of the house.
Okay.
You
Whatever.
know, I don't mind.
If, for example, you choose to utilize an area that's under a porch, that porch, for example, is already counted in the coverage calculations. If it was something that is subterranean, a new area subterranean, regardless if there's something above or not, it will count as coverage, being that it is a structure.
And it would be coverage also if the subterranean area were covered by a patio, for instance.
Correct, or even grass. I mean, there are ways to.
Tom, as our code states now, you're not allowed to put your pool equipment in the basement?
No, you're able to, Trustee Brown. Yes, you are indeed able to. But I think what we're getting at is that you might be able to take advantage of spaces that currently, like I said, under a porch, for example, attached to the house. But you're permitted to put your pool equipment in the basement. I mean, obviously there's,
there's several.
that check valves, etc. I mean, it's not my favorite thing.
Nor the fire departments, right? I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only concern, but as long as it meets all the requirements by the fire department and there's egress,
All right, anyone else? So why don't we, if there's no other comments, Jody, no one else called in? Just checking.
No other callers.
All right, so since we have to make some changes on this, why don't we just keep the hearing open till the next meeting? Is that okay, Vinny?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so can we get do I need to take a motion on this to keep the hearing open?
We need to adjourn it till the next village board regular meeting. That would be the motion.
Yeah, the November.
Motion to adjourn.
Marcos. All right, so can I get a motion to adjourn that hearing?
I make a motion to adjourn till next hearing, please.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that hearing will stay open until the November board meeting, where we'll have the language cleaned up, and then we can do this all one more time. All right, next hearing, June?
Introductory number 25 of 2021. Proposed legislation amending Code Chapter 278-3A-4B, zoning area setback and height regulations regarding window wells. Section 1, legislative intent. As a result of the modification of limitations on cellars and single-family residential uses, other provisions of the Code of the Village of East Hampton must be modified to accommodate potential designs of such uses. Accordingly, the Board of Trustees of the Villages of East Hampton does determine that the amendment set forth herein is an appropriate accommodation.
All right.
A4, principal building side. Well, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Callers, Jamie? I'm sorry, Jody?
There are no new callers on the line.
All right. Anybody from the board?
Yeah, I would like to clarify in section B on the second page of the text where it says window wells 8 feet or less from the wall of a foundation. Is that a window well or is that a walkout? And that means it would have to be the window well or walkout would have to be within 8 feet of the primary structure basement wall. Is that what this is saying? Because it's not 100% clear to me.
That is what it's saying, trustee. So apparently it is clear to you. You got it right on the mark.
All right, so you can't, if you have a room that goes out 16 feet, the window well slash walkout would have to be within 8 feet of the primary wall.
If I may, Trustee Graham, this is to allow, strictly an open window well, separate from anything else we were speaking of. I think, on the side of being green, I'll say that it's natural lighting, etc. It's becoming a trend. It's really more of a light well, but yes, it could indeed turn into a sunken courtyard, at which time it would count as coverage, but someone would be able to do that anyway right now. I think what it's doing is taking the setback of the window well that's larger than 4x4 that we already have in the code, and lessening the setback to the accessory setback. And there's several builders and residents that would like to utilize it. It's really meant to be a light well.
Okay, but it would still have to have guardrails around the top if it's away from the.
Correct. Anything deeper than a 30-inch drop, which this obviously would needs a guardrail.
Hey, Jody, there's some callers that are apparently still coming through that I can hear making extraneous comments. Could you please address that?
I got it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jody, last chance. Any callers?
Just no new callers on the line.
All right. Can I get a motion to close the hearing?
Mr. Mayor, why don't we just, since this is part and parcel with the first one, why don't we just adjourn this as well? We can get more public comment on it. I mean, to have people call into a Zoom call, it's a lot different than having them come to the emergency services building and attending the meeting in person. And
Yeah,
I think we
I agree,
adjourn this
Tiger.
one as well.
I agree, Tiger. This is much easier than coming to a village board meeting at the firehouse. So
I would make a motion to adjourn this until the November meeting, along with the basements rule, because I think they're pretty much linked.
It's a good idea. I mean, then we could garner some more public input, perhaps, and they are interrelated.
Chris, how do you feel?
I
2-3 weeks.
I'm fine with adjourning it, but I'm ready to vote on it now. So, however Sandra and you feel, it's fine with me. I think it's a waste of time. However, I'm happy to hear more comment.
Same here.
I don't think it's ever a waste of time to include more village input, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
We could keep it open 6 months, and then we can be sure that we get every last person involved.
Well, we're not going to, Jerry, I'm only suggesting, until the November meeting.
Right. Well, it would
I
seem
don't
to
think
me
we
that-
need, having these things drag on, and being, adjourned and adjourned and adjourned serves no one. But
Right.
Roughly a 30-day adjournment, I think, serves everyone.
Not even 30 days. Our next meeting.
Close enough.
Well, how many days would you guys like to keep public hearings open? Just curious.
Between meetings. However many days that is. We adjourn this to the next meeting and we can vote on it then.
Okay, I'll give you this one. We'll adjourn this until the next meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. All right, next, June.
Intro number 26 of 2021, a proposed amendment to Chapter 219 Police by adding Article 2 Constables. Section 1 Legislative Intent. It is the desire of the Board of Trustees of the Village of East Hampton to provide services that protect the health, welfare, and safety of its residents in the most efficient manner possible. It is the determination of the Board of Trustees that the effective use of constables can assist in achieving this goal.
Anybody on the line, Jody, about this?
No new callers on the line.
All righty. Any board members?
You'd be surprised, Jerry, to know that I have a question about this.
You do?
In section 219.12, where it says firearm training required, most of the people that would be this have already gone through firearm training as prior police officers. But where it says carrier possess a firearm in their capacity as a village constable on village property other than in conformity with state and federal law, is there some reason why village property is different? Or does that mean in the village?
Well, the way it works, so I'm a retired police officer. I'm able to carry my weapon anywhere I want in the state and in certain other areas outside of the state of New York. With that, though, I have to be licensed to do that, and there's some other requirements. When we hire somebody as a peace officer and they come and they work for us, they have peace officer powers, which also allows them to carry a weapon, but they only have that authority while they're on village property. Once they leave that, it will then fall back on their state license. So they're kind of extra covered, if you will, while they're on village property, as opposed to when they're back to civilian life. You have a lot more protection.
Right, so it really means in the village, not on village-owned property.
Yeah, I mean, Vinny could probably clarify that, but yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, so it probably this should have the text changed. Instead of on village property.
We'll say within the village.
Within the village.
Sure. We can amend that right now and it will be published that way after the hearing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Perfect. Anyone else? All right, then I just want to make one clarification because it was really unclear in the star. This is not, or I'm sorry, it wasn't the star. It was 27 East or the press. This was, it's not to fill full-timers' seats, if you will. They will not be used to replace full-time officers. It will not be used to actually even answer police calls that are normally answered by full-time police officers. So there was some misinformation out there. So I just wanted to clear that up. We also, in the MOA, which is the memorandum to the PBA contract, we put wording in there that would assure this wouldn't happen. Some municipalities take advantage of this, of the part-time police officers. It's cost savings. They can have somebody for $30 an hour, let's say, rather than paying a full-time officer overtime to cover a car. But that's not the case in our village. It never has been, and as long as I'm here, it won't be. So just want to make sure that was all clear. All right, so can I get a motion to close?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that hearing is closed.
Introductory number 27 of 2021, a proposed amendment to add chapter 225, property maintenance and nuisance abatement. Section 1, legislative intent. Board of Trustees of the Village of East Hampton is charged with protecting the health, welfare, and safety of the property owners and residents of the village. The board finds that properties which are not maintained properly often result in a threat to public health, welfare, and safety. The purpose of this chapter is to establish regulations to require multifamily premises, commercial premises, and single-family residents shall be maintained in conformity with the provisions of this chapter so as to establish reasonable safeguards for the safety, health, and welfare of the occupants and users, therefore, and of the general public.
All right. Jody, any callers?
There are no new callers.
All right. Anybody from the board?
No, this is just to make sure that we stay a beautiful village, right?
That's what this is all about. And again, it was misled by a recent editorial in the Star. This is about keeping things looking nice in the village. So I'll use a couple of examples. use some of the alleyways in our village. Most people would think that they're owned by the village. And therefore, if you look down that alley and it's a complete mess with weeds and broken concrete, and they would blame the village. And it's really could be a private alley, a private driveway that the village has no control over. This will allow us to have some control to notify the owner that they're in violation of our village code and they need to fix whatever the case may be. So expanding that to residential concerns, if you take a ride, I'll use a property on the way up to Main Beach, there's a fence that's completely falling down, the grass is overrunning the house, and this would allow us to contact, that property happens to be in an estate right now, or a trust even. And this would allow us to have a little teeth to try to get the people to maintain the property. We have another property that on one of our streets that is falling apart. There's animals that are running wild in the yard, and we really have no way to fix it. And this would, again, would allow us to have some teeth and to get some enforcement on cleaning up that residence for the neighborhood and the neighbors, because the neighbors call quite a bit complaining about this particular house, and there hasn't been a lot that the village board has been able to do about this for years. There's another property that we've received complaints on Panago. So this would help us make people be good neighbors. I think that's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm totally in favor of this.
Okay. Anyone else?
I make a motion to accept.
All right. Can I get a motion to close the hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing is closed. All right, next is a discussion amongst the board about commercial buildings. Currently, the code states that commercial buildings cannot use their attics or their basements for anything other than storage. And some of the complaints we've heard, is that people would like to use their basement for their office that they use to maintain their business, so they don't have to take up retail space where they're paying a lot of money to have a business. So I asked Billy and Tom and Vinny to look into this, and Billy will talk to us now about it.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, Billy Hayjack for the village. So we were asked to look at this provision of the code and to contemplate adjustments which would give commercial property owners flexibility to place uses that are ancillary to the primary business. So the concept is to not create additional units or new business uses in the basement area. It's to allow for uses that are ancillary to the primary business that's being conducted in the building already. In addition to adjustments to the village code that would be required, and Tom can speak to this more clearly, but they would also have to provide for egress requirements and compliance with the New York State Building Code and ADA compliance and things of that nature, which may even preclude somebody from doing it if they don't have the egress requirements. But right now, it's just the village code that we're looking to make some adjustments to. And, we've talked about different concepts of requiring parking for it. It is expanded use of the facility. If somebody's putting their ancillary office down there, it might free up a little bit of retail space on the first floor. And, we think at this point, the idea or the thinking is potentially requiring parking for that space. But that's still up for debate and discussion. So.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people complaining about this for a while now. And I think, we all know that retail is having a hard time because of the obvious reasons. And we've heard this for years. I mean, now we have Amazon, we have all this online shopping. So to be able to help people free up a little more retail space on their main floor to remove an office that they, are using and allow them, maybe it would go a little way in helping them pay the rent a little easier, to provide a little more, and they're really not adding anything more. I mean, hopefully Billy's right. You know, they pick up a little more square footage on the first floor and they bring in, what, 3 more customers? I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of concern there. But again, you know, jumping back to Maureen's comments earlier, you know, she made some valid points, but she has to remember that all of these people are also village residents in some cases, and village businesses, and we have to listen to everyone. And we're trying to help our downtown, help our business area. And right now, we don't have a lack of parking. And we can certainly, if we can help a little bit, I think we should be. That's my feeling on this. And that's why I asked Billy to look into this. I mean, I don't just sit home at night and go through the code and come up with suggestions that we should try to change. And we're getting this as input from the public, to Maureen's point, that where is this all coming from? And it's important that we take a good look at this and we try to figure out ways that we can help our retail be successful. In my opinion, if the retail part of our village is successful, then the rest of the village is also successful. So does anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment, and frankly, I am not against this one bit. I was a little concerned about the egress. You know, basically, a lot of these stores may end up having a problem with that.
Correct.
And, you know, again, if they don't mind trading a little bit of inventory storage for a little more sales floor, as long as they can meet the state requirements, I don't see any problem with this.
Right. That's how I feel, Tiger. Exactly.
You know, I'd also like to say that there are a lot of stores and businesses that do this already, and they're not compliant. So at least this is a way for the village to keep track of them and for them to, let's say, legalize or come into a conforming matter with the code. So we know that there's basements or offices in the basement rather than them setting up shop. I don't think it's, you know, going to add parking. You know, if they're upstairs in their office or they're downstairs in their office, I don't see this adding extra people. But I like this idea a lot, and it helps. There's a lot of stores and businesses that use their basement, whether it be pre-existing or who knows what. So I think this is at least a level playing field as well.
Yeah, bringing everyone into compliance is always a good thing.
So my recommendation would be not to charge for the parking, Billy. Just if it's connected to the main business, then it doesn't count towards coverage. However, we can figure that out.
So yeah, ancillary. So if it's ancillary to the primary use, it's not, they're not creating new uses or new businesses.
Right.
As long as they're not, you know, moving their office to the basement and then freeing up, you know, first floor for another business, I think we'd all be in support of them being able to have their offices in the basement with egress and so forth. I mean, there's lots of offices, buildings on Newtown that I can think of, like the barbershop and so forth, that could probably, you know, there's like a building company in a house that could utilize this legislation. It might be more difficult for those in the commercial core with the egress requirement in ADA especially. And we're not talking any bathrooms or anything, just an office, correct?
Correct.
I think it's ancillary, whatever's ancillary to their business. I don't know, it might not necessarily be an office, you know? Could be a staff break room or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
all
that
of
would
that's
trigger
fine.
health department anyway. That would be beyond us if they were to add, you know, any kind of bathroom or.
Yeah, I think the goal here is not to have the village standing in the way of something. If the health department and the fire code allows it, then why should we be standing in the way of it? So, and if it helps retail, I think it would be a good way to start. Big question though I have, Billy, is we talked about this briefly. I just want to see how the board feels about it. But you know, a real estate office that wants to take advantage of this and put more agents at desks in basement, and they meet fire code. Is that I mean, I could see that then increasing the parking.
Yeah, to me, that's an increase of their use that's not necessarily, the use is an office. So they're expanding their office use. That's not really ancillary.
Right.
To me, that's something that contributes to parking. And I mean, one option is to allow this only for, or preclude it from office uses. This
Right,
way
I
they
was just,
can't. Yeah.
oh, sorry, Billy. No, I was just gonna pop on to that very point that, that would clearly be an expansion and, we wouldn't look to have a real estate office, put another row of desks down there.
Yeah, that's
Or-
without being
Or
charged.
they could, if they could, they'd have to provide parking and all the other things that they.
That's
Requirements of the code.
I think that's good. And then if they wanted to do that, they could go to the ZBA and try to get a variance for the parking. So there is an avenue for them to do that, or any business, if they wanted to expand their use. Okay, so that's good. So we're not going to get into that. So that'll be good.
Right, just from my point of view, just as long as it is that particular business, for the business in the location, because, there's a lot of stores that might have other affiliates or who knows what, but it'd be nice to say it's for that store, not maybe a family of stores.
Right. And Billy, this would address attics as well, right? Because the current law says attic or basement.
It could, yeah. I mean, we didn't really discuss attics.
The health and
I think attics, though, I don't know. Tom might have that might be a bigger issue with the fire code.
It may very well be, and then also it would be counted as a story.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we've already kind of precluded that with our with the current code.
Just keep it to basements.
Yeah.
I would think so. And then there's going to be other measures that are, like we said, the state code is already in place. That's going to kind of control this. And then even more so is the Department of Justice's ADA requirements. You can't put something down there that someone meant, I don't know, I want to just be politically correct and term it properly, that someone that's not able-bodied or whatever, so someone disabled or whatever.
Someone who's handicapped.
Someone in a wheelchair.
Handicapped or whatever.
Someone in a wheelchair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
So, you can't have something down there that's not offered elsewhere in the building, for example, but then it's
Okay, so why don't we
accessibility issue.
why don't we ask Vinny to, we'll put it to a law, Vinny, and then we'll bring it to the public hearing.
Yeah, I'll work with Billy and Tom. We'll have a draft for the next board meeting.
Terrific. All right, next up is Billy. You want to talk about this town and village agreement for the town to use density credits and manage affordable apartment units?
Yes, so I think all the board members are aware. We've had a couple of requests come forward recently. Well, one's not so recently, it's just been languishing for quite a while, to construct apartments above commercial buildings, which I think everyone is in agreement is a good thing. And they're going to be required to make them available to or limited to moderate income, regulated income tenants. And the town of East Hampton has a department, the Department of Housing and Community Development, which oversees the town's program. And they've offered that service to the village, basically to help us, because they're experienced with this. They know how the program works, and they basically oversee the program for us to ensure that the tenants of those apartments are appropriate. They meet the qualifications, the income limitations and qualifications and whatnot. So this is just an agreement to allow the town to do that. And this will also then give the town the authority to approve multiple pending transfer of density credits that applicants have sought from the town to allow for those apartments.
We spoke about this with the town back in 2018, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We never got to the point of codifying it, but I thought it was a good idea then. I think it's still a good idea now.
Do we have to pay the town? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they do get some compensation, right, Billy?
If we collect any fees for the applications or for those specific uses, those fees would be transferred to the town.
I was
It's
just
not
wondering-
necessarily a moneymaker because we're trying to encourage affordable apartments, so it's not.
I was just wondering, I think we're all in favor of this, but do East Hampton residents have preferential, that they would be able to, take advantage of one of these apartments? Or is it everyone?
No, it's everyone. And it's not the town, the way I understand the program is the town does not pick the tenant. It's up to the property owner to find the tenant. And they just have to, run that person through the Office of Housing and Community Development to ensure that they qualify. So
Right.
it's not, you don't, as a landlord or the owner of the building, you don't go to the town and say, who can I rent it? Who can I rent to? You find your own tenant. You just have to make sure that they meet the qualifications through the town.
Right, and the town continually monitors it for compliance going forward.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good. So is that something you can draft up, Vinny? All right.
Yeah, there's an existing agreement that the town uses. So if you'll authorize, you can authorize that today and we can begin using that immediately.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to execute this agreement with the town.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passed and carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. All right, we're going to get into the agenda. June?
Mayor, we
Number-
still have that one
Oh, I'm
caller on the
sorry.
line.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you very much. Please put the caller through. This is public comment.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate this. Yes, this is public comments. First, I'd like to commend Maureen's perspective was the first caller. I believe that we do need more transparency and more voter involvement in the government. My name is David Gans. I've been a village resident for almost 20 years. As my background, I've served over 25 years in state and New York City government roles. I'm here before you to raise concerns as to the lack of transparency and governance of this village board. In 1974, New York State passed the Open Meetings and Freedom of Information laws. These laws, overseen by the New York State Committee on Open Government, applied to all New York State, county, town, city, and village governments. The Open Meetings Law concerns the conduct of meetings of public bodies and the right to attend those meetings, and the Freedom of Information Law governs rights of access to government records. As for open meetings, the law gives the public the right to listen to the debates, watch the decision-making process in action, and it requires public bodies to keep minutes of all action taken, which includes executive sessions. From my own perspective, it appears the decision-making process is conducted behind closed doors. It has already been ratified before the trustees meeting. And the trustees meeting is kind of used as a fait accompli forum. This does not allow the citizens to be fully aware of and able to observe the performance of public officials and attend and listen to the deliberations and decisions that go into making policy. It's important citizens are fully aware of and able to observe the performance of public officials and attend and listen to the deliberations. All meetings must consist of a summary of all motions, proposals, resolutions, and any matter formally voted upon and vote thereof. While other East Hampton Village and town boards follow these procedures, for some reason, the Board of Trustees feel they are immune. Moving on to the Freedom of Information Act. This law reaffirms rights to know how your government operates. It provides rights of access to records and reflective of governmental decisions and policies that affect the lives of every citizen. Based on my own experience, I've been stonewalled by the village attorney and administrator in securing the necessary documentation as how Saunders Broadcasting was able to install a branded Wi-Fi at Main Beach, which required an email address to access. When this proposal came to the board in March, it was positioned as an unbranded free Wi-Fi and installation of a camera for security reasons. Unfortunately, the end result was a one-way directional camera, not very good for security, as the mayor should know, and to sell sponsorships on their website to collect email addresses for Saunders real estate leads. I've been waiting 3 months for a comprehensive response to my FOIL request. From my own perspective, I think the current board lacks the governance and is fraught with ethical and legal issues. Hopefully, these can be ratified. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Are there any other callers, Jody?
No more callers, Mr. Mayor.
All right, great. June, can we go to the agenda?
Sorry. Number 1, approve claim vouchers for the month of October.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 2, approve warrants as listed, general fund number 12, number 14, and number 15, trust fund number 11, and LoSAP number 13.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 3, approve budget transfer schedule number 1, reference number 1, dated October 4th, 2021.
So
So
move.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 4, approve departmental reports.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Number 5, adopt resolution number 64-2021 to amend the 2021-22 budget by increasing estimated revenue and appropriations in the amount of $58,153.67 related to ARPA funds received from New York State. This would be the first half.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 6, adopt resolution number 65-2021 to amend the 2021-22 village budget by increasing estimated revenue and appropriations in the amount of $16,405.41 received from the East Hampton Historical Society related to the centennial celebrations.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number
Passed.
7, oops, sorry.
It's okay,
Number
Jim.
7, approve the transfer of $30,000 from account A302020 equipment to account number A302041 equipment repair and maintenance.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed
Right.
and carried.
Can I just say something quick? Sorry to interrupt.
Go
When we
ahead.
read the account numbers, can we just read the last number? Because I don't want our account numbers being broadcasted all over the place. Maybe we can just say the account number ending in 1.
Chris, they're internal account numbers. It's not an actual bank account.
Oh, I'm just saying, you know,
it's just a line.
the internet's a crazy place. I didn't know. Great.
All right, so
Number
number 8.
Number 8, adopt resolution number 66-2021 to approve the promotion of police officer Eben Ball to sergeant at an annual salary of $161,184.91 effective November 1st, 2021.
So move.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried, and congratulations, Devin.
Number 9, employ Christian D. Londano as a part-time police officer effective October 30th, 2021 at an hourly rate of $22 per hour.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. Well, I just want to say a thing about Christian. He has been one of our head TCOs for many years. He's going to remain in that position, and he's passed all of the requirements to go to the police academy. So he'll be going to the Suffolk County Police Department Academy, and then he will graduate sometime in May. And hopefully we'll be able to hire him as a full-time police officer when he graduates, because he has just been a terrific employee, and we would hate to lose him to another department. Although if that does happen, I wish him the best of luck with that too, because he's just a great all-around employee, a great guy. So congratulations, Christian, and hopefully we can retain you. Number 10.
Number 10, approve museum tour guides John Stillwell at $18 an hour and Francis Hanford at $15 an hour to work during winter months on a call-in basis at their current rates of pay, effective immediately.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 11, adopt resolution number 68-2021 to accept and acknowledge the gift of a bed warmer and irons, fireplace shovel and tongs donated by Thomas Bromley of Elk Grove, California, as per gift deed dated September 9th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 12, adopt resolution number 69-2021 to approve the donation of the Village Hall replica, which was gifted to the village for the centennial by Ray Harden and Ben Krapinski Builder LLC to the East Hampton Historical Society.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. I'd just like to say we're going to do that on October 23rd, which is a Saturday at 10:30 a.m. at the Mulford Farm. So hopefully you can all join us there. And we are going to dedicate that replica that Ray Harden built and Jimmy McMullen designed. It's a replica of Village Hall, and we're going to donate that to the Historical Society at the Mulford Farm on that day. So that's very nice of them to gift it to us, and I think it's appropriate that we gift it to the Historical Society. So
I just wanted to thank David Mims as well from Mims Painting or MCD Finishes, who also did that as well, who did all the street poles in the village. They're fantastic.
Yep, and he's getting ready to do another 90 of them. And
we're working on it.
Yeah, thanks, Marcos, for picking that up.
Number 13, notice for a public hearing to be held on November 19th, 2021 at 11 a.m. via video conferencing for introductory number 28-2021, proposed legislation to opt out of licensing and establishing cannabis dispensaries and or on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the village of East Hampton.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that is scheduled for a public hearing on November 19th.
Number 14, notice for public hearing to be held on November 19th, 2021 at 11 a.m. via video conferencing for introductory number 29-2021, a proposed code amendment to Chapter 278 zoning concerning residential parking.
I had a question. Is this about on village streets or on your personal property?
No, personal property. It's about zoning, which is what Tiger brought up.
Okay, so it is about the size of the driveway in relation to how many.
Yeah, that's, there was a typo on overnight. That's why June didn't read it with that in it. So it's just about the zoning code.
Right, mine had overnight, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that is now scheduled for a public hearing on November 19th.
Number 15, notice for a public hearing to be held on November 19th, 2021 at 11 a.m. via video conferencing for introductory number 30, 2021, a proposed code amendment to Chapter 35, officers and employees to provide updated residency requirements.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passed and carried. And again, just for the public, that is about creating a residency law so that we are able to obtain the town civil service list for the entire township rather than just the village. Because we find it a hardship when we're trying to hire people that we're only entitled to the village civil service list where very few people live. And if you live in the village, you also come out on the town list. So we're waiving our right to have a village list and really just use the town list for our hirings. The reason we're doing this is because there's very few people who live in the village that appear on these lists. And if we only ask for a village list and there is no one suitable to hire, then we have to go to a county list. We can't go to a town list. So that kind of defeats the purpose of being able to hire local people. So that's the reason behind this, just so everyone's clear. All right, next.
Okay, number 16, adopt resolution number 70-2021 to accept the retirement of Daria Wistant effective October 21st, 2021, and approve the $18,696.88 payout for accumulated time.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried, and I'd like to just take a moment to thank Daria for her service with the village.
Number 17, approve annual maintenance service contract with Mayday Communications for the emergency radio operations and dispatches audio log digital voice recording system at the cost of $4,835.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Approve the $101,295.88 purchase of two 2022 Ford Utility Police Interceptors vehicles from Buyer Ford off New York State mini bid.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we going to be able to actually get these vehicles, Mayor?
Mike?
It's about, actually, I'll answer that. I think it's 9 to 10 months out, Tiger, from what we're being told.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Adopt resolution number 71-2021, accepting the August 1st, 2025 to July 31st, 2026 PBA Memorandum of Agreement.
And I'll recuse myself from this vote.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Accept Sergio Benacor's resignation as a member of the Ambulance Association effective October 8th, 2021.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. I'd just like to thank Sergio for his time in the ambulance. He was only in there for, I think, about a year, a little over a year, a little under a year, somewhere around there. And my understanding is he really answered a lot of calls, so he's going to be missed. But life takes you to other places. So thanks for his service. Thank you, Sergio.
21, accept the $44,000 bid received from Pave Master Asphalt and Sealing, Inc. as per the October 12th bid specifications and Department of Public Works Superintendent Dave Collins' October 12th memo.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passed and carried.
Number 22, adopt introductory number 26-2021 as local law 26 of 2021, amending chapter 219 police to add article 2 constables.
So moved.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Number 23, adopt introductory number 27-2021 as local law 27 of 2021 to add code chapter 225 property maintenance and nuisance abatement.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. June, number 25, we did out of order, but we did it earlier.
Oh, okay.
Tiger had made the motion right after we had the discussion.
Okay, so, and on the other two introductories, we're leaving them open until November?
That's correct.
Okay, then we're done.
All right. And executive session, we're not going into. So there was, I don't know if that was a typo from the last meeting or not, but it's not necessary.
We had planned on it, but there's just no need to anymore.
Okay. Terrific. So can I get a motion to close?
So moved.
So move.
All in favor?
Second.
All right.
Aye.
So, that closes the meeting. Everybody have a good weekend.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
And Jerry, thank you for delaying those two.
No problem.